He begins by explaining that most people were taught from a young age that if they just worked harder, success would automatically follow. They were told to wake up early, stay busy, and push through exhaustion, believing that effort alone would eventually lead to prosperity. But what no one explained is that hard work without direction often leads to burnout, not wealth. He gently points out that millions of people work harder every year and yet remain stuck financially. The problem isn't effort, it's the absence of conscientia about how money actually grows. Without foco and clear choices, energy gets scattered. He reminds the listener that true growth requires more than motion. It requires intentional discipline, strong habits, and auto-responsibilidad for every decision made with time and money. Hard work becomes powerful only when paired with strategy and mentalidad forte. He continues by showing how many people confuse being busy with being productive. They rush from task to task, working long hours, yet never build anything that lasts. This constant movement feels responsible, but it often lacks reflection profunda. Without stopping to think, plan, and adjust, effort keeps repeating the same financial patterns. He explains that wealth is created when effort is guided by discipline and foco, not when someone simply exhausts themselves. People who build prosperity use silence strategico to analyze their choices, understand where their money goes, and improve how they earn. They don't just react emotionally to bills and expenses. Instead, they develop control emotional and make calm, long-term decisions. That's how consistency begins to replace chaos. Then he connects this idea to everyday financial behavior. Someone can work 2 jobs and still struggle if they spend impulsively, avoid planning, and chase short-term comfort. Hard work doesn't protect against poor choices. That's where controle de impulsos becomes essential. He explains that prosperity is often lost not because of low income, but because of emotional decisions made daily. Buying things to feel better, avoiding savings because it feels restrictive, or ignoring opportunities to grow skills all weaken financial progress. On the other hand, a person who earns less but practices autodisciplina, persistence, and smart habits can slowly build stability. Over time, those small disciplined actions compound into wealth. This is the quiet power behind Forza Silenciosa. He adds that society celebrates hustle but rarely teaches structure. People are praised for working non-stop but not for planning wisely. He explains that real success comes from aligning effort with vision. Without a clear purpose, effort becomes random. With purpose, even small actions create massive results. He encourages the listener to ask simple but powerful questions. Where is my money going? What habits are building my future? What choices today will improve my life tomorrow? These moments of awareness strengthen poder interior and shift the mind from survival mode into growth mode. This is where resiliencia is built, not by suffering more, but by choosing better. He closes this topic by reminding the listener that hard work is valuable, but it's incomplete without discipline, strategy, and long-term thinking. Effort opens the door, but mindset determines whether someone walks through it or stays stuck outside forever. When someone pairs work ethic with consistency, reflection, and emotional control, success becomes predictable instead of accidental. Growth becomes steady instead of exhausting. He smoothly transitions forward because once the listener understands that effort alone isn't enough, the next crucial lesson is uncovering the biggest lie people believe about success and hard work. Many people were taught that working harder automatically leads to wealth. They wake up early, stay late, exhaust themselves, and still struggle to get ahead. The truth most never hear is that effort without direction rarely creates prosperity. It only creates fatigue, When the mind isn't trained to think strategically, hard work becomes a cycle instead of a ladder. Someone can spend years busy, yet never build real financial progress. That's because wealth responds to smart choices, not just long hours. When awareness grows, it becomes clear that mindset determines whether effort compounds or disappears. There's a common illusion that suffering today guarantees success tomorrow, but success doesn't reward exhaustion. It rewards discipline paired with intelligent action. A strong mindset focuses on building value, improving skills, and creating systems that generate income beyond physical labor. People who remain stuck often repeat the same habits daily, expecting different results. Without reflection and responsibility, hard work turns into routine struggle. Real growth begins when someone steps back, analyzes their behavior, and chooses smarter strategies, instead of simply pushing harder. This is why many workers never cross into wealth. They trade time for money without ever learning how money works. While they're busy surviving, disciplined thinkers are planning, investing, and positioning themselves for long-term prosperity. The difference isn't talent or luck, it's focus and consistency. Wealth grows when actions align with future goals instead of immediate survival. Once the mind shifts from effort to strategy, progress becomes steady and predictable. Another hidden trap is emotional decision-making. After long, exhausting days, people reward themselves with spending, comfort, and short-term pleasure. These small choices slowly drain income and weaken financial stability. Without emotional control, hard work is constantly undone by impulse. Strong minds learn to manage their emotions before managing money. They understand that discipline protects prosperity just as much as earning does. When someone realizes that effort alone isn't the solution, everything changes. Work becomes intentional. Time becomes an investment instead of a sacrifice. Each action starts serving a long-term vision. This awareness builds inner power and transforms struggle into progress. And once this truth sinks in, the next step becomes clear. Understanding how mindset itself controls financial results far more than effort ever could. Most people believe money is controlled by the economy, their boss, or their salary. But in reality, financial results are controlled first by the mind. The way someone thinks about opportunities, risk, discipline, and growth quietly shapes every financial outcome. A strong mindset looks for solutions, while an average mindset looks for excuses. One sees obstacles as lessons, the other sees them as limits. Over time, these small mental differences create massive gaps in income and stability. When the mind is trained to think long-term, decisions naturally improve. Instead of chasing quick money, disciplined thinkers focus on building skills, saving consistently, and investing wisely. They understand that prosperity is the result of thousands of smart choices repeated daily. Meanwhile, those with weak mental habits react emotionally to circumstances, spending impulsively, avoiding planning, and hoping for sudden breakthroughs. Hope rarely builds wealth. Structure does. Mindset also controls how someone handles setbacks. A resilient thinker adjusts and keeps moving. A fragile thinker quits, complains, or blames external forces. This difference determines whether challenges become stepping stones or stopping points. Over time, persistence compounds, just like interest. Those who keep showing up with focus eventually outgrow those who give up when things feel difficult. Another powerful shift happens when someone becomes aware of their internal dialogue. Thoughts like, "I'll never get ahead," or "money is always a struggle," silently program behavior. The mind begins acting in ways that confirm those beliefs. Strong thinkers intentionally replace those patterns with disciplined action and clear goals. This isn't about positive thinking. It's about responsible thinking paired with consistent behavior. Once someone understands that financial reality reflects mental habits, control returns to their hands. Growth becomes intentional, decisions become calmer, progress becomes predictable. And with that clarity in place, the next lesson naturally unfolds. Seeing why poor thinking keeps so many people trapped in the same financial cycle for years. Many people don't realize that what keeps them stuck financially isn't lack of opportunity, but repeated ways of thinking. Poor thinking focuses on survival instead of growth. It asks, how do I get through this month? Instead of, how do I build for the next 5 years? This short-term mindset leads to short-term results. Bills get paid, but nothing is built. Over time, the cycle becomes familiar and comfortable, even when it's frustrating. One of the biggest traps of limited thinking is reacting instead of planning. When money problems appear, the response is often emotional: borrowing, overspending for relief, or avoiding reality altogether. Without awareness, these reactions become habits. Strong minds pause, analyze, and choose deliberately. That pause is where discipline lives. It's what separates people who escape financial struggle from those who repeat it. Another pattern is blaming external factors. The economy, the job market, bad luck, all become excuses that remove personal responsibility. While circumstances do matter, mindset determines how someone responds to them. Those who grow financially focus on what they can control, learning new skills, improving habits, managing emotions, and making smarter choices daily. That sense of responsibility builds inner power and opens doors others never see. Poor thinking also avoids discomfort. Budgeting feels stressful, so it's ignored. Investing feels risky, so it's postponed. Hard conversations about money feel awkward, so they never happen. Each avoidance brings temporary comfort, but long-term consequences. Disciplined thinkers face discomfort early to gain freedom later. They understand that short-term pain often prevents long-term struggle. Once someone recognizes these patterns, change becomes possible. Stuckness isn't permanent, it's learned. And what's learned can be replaced with better habits and stronger thinking. With this awareness, the path forward becomes clearer, and the next lesson naturally follows, understanding the real difference between being busy and being truly productive. Being busy feels productive, but it often hides stagnation. Many people fill their days with movement, messages, meetings, and small tasks, yet nothing meaningful changes financially. Activity creates the illusion of progress, but productivity creates results. The mind that stays busy avoids the responsibility of choosing what truly matters. A strong mindset, on the other hand, filters noise and directs energy toward actions that actually build prosperity. Busy behavior is usually reactive. The day is controlled by emails, demands, and urgency instead of intention. When someone starts the day without a clear focus, they end it exhausted with little to show for it. Productive thinkers decide in advance what moves their life forward and protect that priority with discipline. One focused hour on the right task often produces more growth than 10 hours of scattered effort. Another key difference is emotional control. Busy people respond to what feels urgent because it reduces anxiety in the moment. Productive people tolerate short-term discomfort to create long-term gain. They understand that ignoring distractions requires impulse control and strategic silence. Saying no becomes as important as saying yes. This restraint builds silent strength and keeps energy aligned with long-term goals. Financially, busyness often shows up as constant maintenance without progress. Bills get paid, but wealth isn't built. Tasks are completed, but systems aren't created. Productive thinking shifts focus from maintenance to multiplication. Skills that scale, habits that compound, and decisions that pay off over time. This shift requires awareness and consistency, not more effort. Once someone understands this difference, time stops feeling like an enemy. Each day becomes an opportunity to invest attention wisely. Productivity replaces exhaustion and progress becomes visible. With that clarity in place, the next step is inevitable, understanding why most workers never become wealthy despite working harder than ever. Most workers are trained to trade time for money and stop there. They focus on earning just enough to cover bills, repeating the same routine year after year. While this keeps life moving, it rarely builds real prosperity. Wealth grows when income is multiplied, not just earned. Those who become wealthy think beyond paychecks. They look for ways to create value, increase skills, and build sources of income that aren't limited by hours in a day. Another reason workers stay stuck is comfort with familiarity. Even when growth opportunities appear, fear often keeps people in the same job, the same habits, and the same financial patterns. Change feels risky, so stability becomes the priority, even if that stability includes stress and limitation. Strong minds accept short-term discomfort to reach long-term freedom. They understand that prosperity requires stepping outside routine. Many workers also rely solely on their employer for financial security. They don't invest in learning about money, developing new abilities, or building personal assets. Over time, inflation rises, expenses grow, and income stays nearly the same. Disciplined thinkers prepare for this by saving consistently, investing wisely, and continuously improving themselves. This preparation creates resilience when challenges arise. Emotional habits also play a major role. After hard days, spending becomes a form of reward. This cycle slowly erodes savings and reinforces paycheck-to-paycheck living. Without emotional control, hard work is constantly undone by impulse. Wealthy thinkers train themselves to delay gratification and prioritize long-term goals over short-term comfort. Once someone sees these patterns clearly, the idea of wealth becomes less mysterious. It's not about luck or extreme intelligence. It's about habits, responsibility, and focused strategy repeated over time. And with this understanding, the next lesson naturally appears, learning how emotions influence money decisions more than most people realize. Money decisions are rarely logical. Most of the time they're emotional. People like to believe they think carefully about spending, saving, and investing, but emotions quietly drive many of those choices. Stress leads to impulsive purchases. Fear causes missed opportunities. Excitement pushes people into risky decisions without planning. When emotional control is weak, money becomes a tool for comfort instead of growth. One of the biggest emotional triggers is exhaustion. After long days of work, the mind seeks quick relief. That relief often shows up as spending, eating out, shopping online, upgrading things that aren't truly needed. These moments feel small, but repeated daily, they quietly drain income. Strong minds recognize this pattern and interrupt it with discipline. They pause, reflect, and choose long-term stability over short-term pleasure. Fear is another powerful influence. Many avoid investing or improving their finances because they're afraid of making mistakes. That fear keeps money sitting still while inflation slowly eats its value. Others fear looking at their finances because it brings discomfort. Avoidance feels easier than responsibility. Disciplined thinkers face reality early and calmly. That awareness creates inner strength and better decisions. Excitement can be just as dangerous. Quick money schemes, sudden opportunities, and promises of fast success often trigger emotional reactions. Without focus and patience, people jump into things they don't understand and lose money as a result. Wealthy thinkers slow down when emotions rise. Strategic silence gives them space to think clearly before acting. When someone learns to manage emotions before managing money, everything changes. Decisions become steadier, progress becomes predictable, prosperity grows naturally, and with this emotional awareness in place, the next lesson becomes clear. Understanding the crucial role discipline plays in building lasting wealth. Wealth isn't built in big moments. It's built in small, daily decisions repeated consistently. Discipline is what turns good intentions into real results. Without it, plans stay on paper and goals stay in the future. Strong minds understand that prosperity grows through habits, saving regularly, learning continuously, controlling impulses, and staying focused even when motivation fades. Discipline creates structure in financial life. Instead of reacting to expenses, disciplined thinkers plan ahead. They set budgets, track progress, and make adjustments calmly. This structure removes chaos and replaces it with clarity. Over time, this clarity strengthens awareness and confidence. Money stops feeling overwhelming and starts feeling manageable. Another powerful, effective discipline is protection. It protects income from emotional spending, protects savings from impulse decisions, and protects long-term goals from short-term distractions. While others rely on feelings, disciplined people rely on systems. Systems keep progress moving even on difficult days. This consistency quietly compounds into prosperity. Discipline also builds resilience. When setbacks happen, unexpected bills, slow months, financial mistakes, disciplined thinkers don't quit. They adjust and continue. This persistence keeps growth steady. Over time, challenges become learning experiences instead of roadblocks. Once discipline becomes a habit, wealth stops feeling like a struggle. Progress becomes predictable. Stability grows naturally. And with discipline firmly in place, the next truth becomes clear. Working longer hours doesn't automatically mean earning more money. Before you leave, pause for a second and be honest with yourself. How many times have you worked hard, felt motivated, and still ended up in the same financial place? If this message opened your eyes and made you reflect on your habits, don't let it fade. Drop a comment right now and tell me, what's one money habit you're going to change starting today? Make sure you're subscribed to the channel and turn on notifications. A lot of people watch these videos, but only a few take action and actually transform their lives. If you're serious about building discipline, a strong mindset, and real prosperity, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Click the next recommended video on your screen now and keep learning how to turn effort into wealth. Consistent action, strong habits, real results. This is Napoleon Hill.